What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. Hopefully this evening can salvage my afternoon with this. What did I just watch? 29 threes? And obviously they were trying to break the record for most in a game. 29 is the record. They tied it, but missed like 9 or 10 threes that second unit did. Peyton Pritchard, like 1 for 9 from 3. Pretty wild to watch. But of course, one of the most shit wagers of all time, Eric Lindquist. Great job. Great start. Also, Mikal Bridges, if I had seen that shot pre-game, that would have been a nice thing. It didn't even look that bad in preseason because I definitely saw him play a little bit in preseason. Just didn't watch him warm up. But him watching... That was terrible. I promise I'll get better because this just kind of seems to be the trend for me. I had a terrible April in the MLB streets betting and then just ran off, ended up smashing for the entire year. Last year, had a really bad first week of the NBA season before lighting the world on fire. Actually, I had a great opening day, though, with Mr. Duran. And in fact, that came on the second day of the season. I believe it was Thursday leading into Friday, and Jalen Duran double-double. Well, we don't have any of those smash fest deals, but we do have a spread that I'm going to be jamming, and I do mean jamming, that we'll talk about a little bit later here for the lock session. And well, I'm excited about that. We'll talk that 365, we'll talk tails, and we'll try to put today and this next game. We're gonna go on to the next game and not talk about the Knicks here for a while. But Bet365, great opportunity. We'll get to them at the midway point. But we have 10 games. 10 games. I redid everything here on my sheets. I'm super excited because I think we got some great wagers coming your way. If you want to get them all, Lindy's Tails package. We're going to have things that show up throughout the day. We do have a lot of injury news, I think, for an opening day that is going to be going to be affecting everything that I'm doing here on my end. I'm a little frazzled. Try Eric's Tails package, that's me, for free. Any of these that you try out here, Pick'em sites on the left, sportsbooks on the right. If you sign up for any of them, including Bet365 there, you can do so down at the link below. You simply follow these 4 steps that come up on your screen. You get one of those promos, you sign up for the offer, you take screenshots of everything, that email and your first settled bet, and you email support@oddshopper.com with the screenshots. You'll get Lindy's Locks free. That is me for a month just by signing up with one of our partners. Only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But without further ado, this is technically, in my opinion, opening day. Producer Jacob, hi. It is officially back. Let's get to the picks. Let's go through some analysis on this one, shall we? Because I really don't know what to do with this game. Pacers, 4.5-point favorites going against Detroit here. And I think Detroit has a chance. I'm not going to call them the surprise team because I still think they're going to be bad. But I don't think they're going to be as bad as people think because Tobias Harris out there, this is a change of scenery that he needed. Jalen Duran, I think he's serviceable down in the block. And Miles Turner, yeah, he's going to make him go out there and guard him on the three-point line. Miles Turner set it on fire against Charlotte in that last preseason game, if you watch that. And the main pieces, of course, being Tim Hardaway Jr. out of Dallas and Cade Cunningham at the point guard position, your star player here. I think there's enough offense there that we're going to see Detroit kind of move it a little bit. 234 for a total, 233.5. That makes sense, but most of that comes from our ever reliable Indiana Pacers. The second team in terms of pace, 102.1 possessions per 48 minutes last season. They're going up against a team in Detroit that, again, I think is more offensively built. I'm trying to think about the best way to say that. I don't know. I could have done better. But I know Benedict Mathurin is getting back here for this one. I don't think he's a very good basketball player here at the NBA level. I liked him at Arizona. Has moments of being a bucket, but this is really about Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, and Tyrese Halliburton. Those three will take this team places. Andrew Nembhard is just kind of out there. His number was popping in Portfolio EV. If you know what I'm talking about, you can take a look at that. Going on for $1 if you sign up at the link below as well. But Andrew Nembhard, he had moments for Canada, so we'll talk about Olympics as we're going across the entire board. Steph Curry, Captain America. But I am very much finding it hard to find anything that's positive EV in this game. I do think the over is where I'm leaning purely because Detroit, we could be looking back on this and see a team that does play in the top 10 of pace going forward. But based on last year's numbers, we can't just completely say that they're going to be in the top 10 again like they were last year. I want to wait and see how this team plays out for a couple of games. Again, you don't have to bet everything on the board. You want to be early to the party of the things you're confident about. You want to kind of pump the brakes on the other things. And obviously, you don't want to bet the Knicks against the Celtics on opening night. Brooklyn plus 7.5 going up against Atlanta. And Atlanta, no DeJounte Murray. He is now in New Orleans. He's actually going to be sitting there questionable for that New Orleans spot. We'll talk about that one too, because I think there's a little bit of value still by potentially going to the dog there. Now, I have said multiple times that I like betting dogs early in the season in the NBA purely because I think you see a lot of the good teams or the teams that are supposed to be good a little bit overvalued relative to the bad teams. And Brooklyn got 7.5-point dogs in Atlanta. And Atlanta, you look at some of their implied win totals. I mean, they're not winning 40 with this squad. However, I like Jalen Johnson a lot, like a lot. I think he has a good chance of winning most improved player. Now, most improved player is such a weird award to me. I don't even know how you gauge that, but does Okongwu start over Clint Capella this season? I'm not sure. I still think Clint Capella probably early on in the year is going to be out there, especially against a true big and Nicholas Claxton starting on the other side. But there are two things that I really want to point out on the Brooklyn side before we get to our first play of this entire session. Ben Simmons. Don't see a ton of minutes. They've been very, very cautious with him playing around 13, 14 minutes. I think people know that Ben Simmons, while he has at times been extremely stressful to bet on, he can be a wagon and somebody who can, when you see those minutes ramped up for the first time to 26, 28, you got triple doubles that 30-1, 25-1 that will be live type bets. So you want to be paying attention to how those minutes are allocated early on in this season. But the other thing that I think is interesting is Cam Thomas. Can Cam Thomas be a volume scorer on a team that isn't going anywhere? Yes, I think he absolutely can be. But is that going to be winning basketball? No. And I think people confuse getting hot or being like a good scorer with being a good NBA player. Cam Thomas, you go through his portfolio on specific players here. You look at the Brooklyn Nets in general, and this is just really hard for me to see Cam Thomas being an important part of this team because he is one percentile defender in the National Basketball Association. I use dunks and threes. I combine it with my own data, usually combining it with Basketball Reference and StatHead. If anybody's curious about that process, once again, you can ask me all those questions. But the guy had a 29% usage the last 2 seasons now here, or 27% it was in 2023. I find him very stressful. Now, all of that being said, I think Dennis Schroeder, because of what he can bring in the assist market, has a couple of low numbers here and new people to the program. Bear with me, it's okay. But later on here, I am very much going to be pulling the trigger on some Dennis Schroeder props. It just kind of is the way that this program works. And it'd be weird if I wasn't on some of the same type plays early on in the season before minutes really get ramped up. But one, he played for Germany in the Olympics. He's definitely had a little bit of a workload there already. His minutes should be ramped up a little bit more than most. Now, that was 2 months ago here at this point in time, 2.5 months ago. But I still think that it helps knowing that he was playing a lot. And we've seen Dennis Schroeder be like the king of Gotham in the international basketball streets. The guy would go to Australia, I think it was, where they had FIBA that one year, and he won player of the tournament. He was the guy. And I think he can be the guy for Brooklyn on both sides of the floor. He was somebody who played over D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers because of what he can do on the defensive end. I think that helps his minutes here. I think the over of 22.5 points plus assists, which is minus 115 at Bet365, is a great way to get your card started. And in fact, if you want to check out Bet365 now, tons of deals going on with them. Producer Jacob, let's talk to the people about it. They had tip-off Tuesdays going, bet 50, get 50 in bonus bets. That'll be next Tuesday here as well. But you have an opportunity right now to bet $5 and get yourself $200 in bonus bets in a number of these key states. What are those states? Well, they're going to pop up on your screen here next. Look at this. It's like a little PowerPoint presentation. Colorado, Louisiana, Virginia, Kentucky, New Jersey, Arizona, Ohio, Iowa, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist around your head, spin it like a helicopter. You have an opportunity to bet 5, get $200 in bonus bets, plus tons of great deals that pop up throughout the entire NBA season. It's only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, we got that one out of the way. Onward we go, 8 more games. Orlando at Miami, and this one I'm kind of interested in something because the pace numbers. It's all about that pace, no treble. You're going to see Miami really regress, I think, this season. Jimmy Butler, another year on the tires. Tyler Hero can't really be that guy. I love Bam Adebayo. I really, Really, really love Bam Adebayo, but guys, this is so unbelievably hard for me to look at the board and think strength of schedule doesn't matter, because last year, strength of schedule, Miami had the easiest adjusted strength of schedule of any team in the National Basketball Association. They went 46-36. That was mainly buoyed by the fact that they got to play fewer. I mean, it can be a schedule thing when you're talking about a little bit here, a little bit there, because, well, they're not getting back to the NBA Finals this season. I'll throw that out there. 2 years ago, a little bit of an anomaly, a little bit of a really, really good run, but this season, no. I think Orlando, much better chance, because they went out and they got themselves some basketball players. Look at this. Jalen Suggs got paid. He was there already, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, love that pickup. And it's kind of similar to in the NFL streets when you see a guy like, with my Minnesota Vikings, when you see a guy that just doesn't really make sense. When you see, I keep wanting to say Devin McCourty, and that is not 100% who it is. Producer Jacob, jump in and remind me who the cornerback from New England is that is now the star of my Minnesota Vikings. Can you remind me? Stephon Gilmore. That's exactly it. Good job, producer Jacob. You get $100, and you get to pass go, and you get to, thank you. I don't have an earpiece. He telekinetically told me that. That was nice. But we very much are looking at that with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. When he decides to join a basketball team, they're generally going to be pretty good. We saw that with Denver. We saw it in a title-winning time in 2020 with the Lakers. The guy chooses winning basketball teams. That is his centerpiece. He's a 3-and-D guy, and he's one of the best that we've seen here in the last couple of years at doing it. Orlando, he chose it. They're going to be great on the defensive end. They add Paolo Banchero, who's just one of the most underrated players in all of basketball. There's no question about that one. And Franz Wagner, I think he is the guy who really has to jump up to another level. If he can ascend into the top 30, 35, 40 players in the National Basketball Association, this Orlando team could really go places. That contract is still advantageous. We're still looking at a team that at those top 5 spots, that starting 5 is as solid defensively as just about any other spot in the league. I keep saying NBA over and over and over again. Did you know it's the NBA? But I'm going to call this a lean like, and this is our first lean like of the season. The reason that I'm doing it here is it's juiced at -115 right now at 209. It can go to 208.5, -110. I think there's a chance that this gets bet up a little bit. 209, 209.5, 210. I'm waiting. If you see 210 -110, just bet the under. Snap call, half unit, fire it up. But it's not there yet. So I'm calling it a lean like, mainly because this would be an okay, just barely making the card type play right now. But I think there's a chance it gets better. So pump the brakes. I will post it for sure in tails when I make it, if I make it. But on X, hit me up at Eric Lindquist if you have any questions. Welcome, friends, to our first lock of the 2024-25 National Basketball Association season. It's the Milwaukee Bucks, -3.5, taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. No Joel Embiid will be on the floor tonight. No Paul George, acquisition in the offseason, will be on the floor for Philly tonight. What is this number? I'm asking because I don't understand. Milwaukee fits the bill for what Dallas was to me last season, early on in the year. I said, you tell me that you have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the same basketball team, they're going to find cohesion in the offseason. Now, Dame, later acquisition, is what it is. Didn't go as well, but injuries played a part in that for sure. And you didn't really find the cohesion between him and Giannis Antetokounmpo, but we're talking about Dame being removed from Portland, where he was at forever, and now joining Giannis. This is going to be a better season for the two of them alongside each other because they're starting to get the right kind of pieces to help. Now, Chris Middleton is out for this basketball game. Sounds like he's going to be out at least another 2 weeks. But I look at some of these other pieces and how they're going to fit in from a fit perspective. And Gary Trent Jr. is #good at basketball. Another type 3-and-D, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope type, more offensively proclivity than that of Mr. KCP. Yeah, you know me, but I very much like the addition of Gary Trent Jr. along with Taurean Prince, who I think will end up starting here in this spot. We've seen Pat Connaughton, Marion Beauchamp. we've seen some of these other pieces, AJ Johnson, and then Liam Robbins at the center position backing up Brook Lopez potentially here. Lots of interesting pieces there. And then one of my sneaky guys, DeLon Wright, can be a difference maker, especially on the defensive end. That was somebody that Spoelstra talked about. He wanted to go get him at the tail end of last year for Miami. Now he is here in Milwaukee. I think he can be that kind of guy off the bench to potentially lock down dudes, but this really comes down, this entire play comes down to what in the world are we looking at on the Philly side? I have for their starting lineup tomorrow, Tyrese Maxey, Eric Gordon, Kelly Oubre, Caleb Martin, and Andre Drummond. Why? Oh, why is this just a 3.5 point line on the Milwaukee side? If you told me just based off of last year's data, you took Embiid off the floor, and then you were to take somebody like Tobias Harris off the floor, because again, that's the best counter that I can have for Paul George at the moment. Paul George is much better than Tobias Harris, but just for conversation's sake, that's what I did. I would have this as a 7.5 point line. Now, there are new pieces on both sides. It's early in the season. It's in Philly on the road, and I don't care, because still, you take a point off of that or a 1.5 off of that, that still falls into, when you're talking 2.5, 3.5 points for a spread in basketball. That is a lock, friends. That is going to be, for me, what I consider a one-unit play, something worthy of a one-unit play. And that is what we have on opening night in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. I hope they don't enjoy their opening night of basketball as Milwaukee, Giannis, Dame, big game right from the get-go. Also going to be looking at some alternate numbers here, because I could see a blowout far more easily on one side than the other. I mean, come on now. What are we doing here? Milwaukee gets it done. Big game from Dame in game one. And we're going to temper expectations a little bit here. However, I have a play. Cleveland taking on Toronto, 6.5, 7.5. Not really interested in that, because I have this around 7 points for Cleveland on the road in Toronto. RJ Barrett will not be playing basketball this evening, so that was good to know. Got a little bit of understanding about that earlier in the day. Kelly Olynyk also going to be out. Bruce Brown still going to be out. Those are three pretty important pieces. That turns the starting five for me into Quickly, Grady Dick, Agbaji, Scotty Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl. Now, those five, serviceable pieces. Scotty Barnes, we saw ascend early in the season last year. They started tempering some minutes. They gave Quickly a ton of run. They gave some of the other guys, RJ Barrett coming from the Knicks, they gave him a ton of run. And, things got a little bit strange at the end of the year for Toronto. I don't think in the East they're going to be remotely competitive. Cleveland, they have high aspirations because of the Garland-Mitchell combination. Now, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, this front court defensively is extremely stout, way better than anything you're going to get from Scotty Barnes playing the 4 in terms of size up against Mobley. Mobley should have fun rebounding, but some of these numbers have already gotten nuked to places that we probably don't want to go. I am going to be looking at Jared Allen potentially for double-double, maybe some alternate rebound numbers, but as of right now, nothing that I want to go crazy with outside of Emmanuel Quickly on the other side of this one. Quickly is one of those players that I bet a lot last year, because under new circumstances coming out of New York, I thought he was good. And obviously Tibbs really likes Miles McBride. And we saw Deuce McBride have a really nice game here in game one for them as well. So there's some understanding of why he did that, but they already were thin in terms of size, and they chose to keep Miles McBride over Emmanuel Quickly, who kind of fits the same type of build. But Emmanuel Quickly does a little bit more of everything on the floor. Now, he's not a great rebounder for what it's worth. I mean, first percentile offensive rebounder in 2023, but a 9.2 assists per game average. We had 95th percentile average there when he was with Toronto last year. I kind of like this. I kind of like this a lot. By the way, that's 9.2% assist percentage on the floor. It was actually nuked up to around 15% under circumstances where you didn't have Bruce Brown Jr. out on the floor. And well, wouldn't you know, Bruce Brown Jr. will also not be on the floor here for this one. I like Quickly at this number over 6.5. No, it's sitting at 7.5 here now. Plus 114, that is. See, that is advantageous, though, at plus 114. Portfolio EV likes it as well. Look at that. Portfolio EV. That's good stuff. Plus 114 at DraftKings. That is your best available line. Go get you some. It's $1. $1 going on right now. What is Portfolio EV, you ask? Well, you can find out for $1 at the link below. It is our top plays based on the market-based approach at OddsShopper, based on our OS rating. We are comparing sharp sportsbooks to the not sharp sportsbooks. We are finding the best lines and the best plays every single day for you, sorting them in an easy table. And by using Portfolio EV, you can take that table and you can automatically sync your sports books and make these bets within seconds. Yes, within seconds, my friends. Use code DUNK at the link below. The offer is valid through October 27th. You get 1 week of everything that we offer over there. I think you'll absolutely love it. Plus, if you're in a legal betting state, easy to sync all of those sports books. If you're in a non-legal state, well, we have Flip, we have Rebet getting added very, very shortly here to the Portfolio EV modeling as well. Tons of great opportunities for you to sync up and get tons of NBA bets down for Wednesday. Check it out, $1. Worst case scenario, you're out $1 on it. You have an opportunity to see some of the sharpest information in the industry. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. The Houston Rockets giving Alperen Sengun a bucket of money. That makes me happy. They're taking on Charlotte, and I will say Brandon Miller is going to be somebody I've got my eye on early. Thought we'd be jumping on the proppies here, but does not appear that I will be right from the get-go. LaMelo Ball, he exists, and that is somebody that matters. Josh Green, he's going to be questionable entering for this one. That's the only piece of injury news we really have there. But there's a big one on the Houston side of things, and I'm going to be paying close attention to it. Steven Adams, questionable right out the get-go. Now, we hadn't seen him in a while. In Memphis, he got moved around, whatever else. He is now here in Houston, of all places. And, well, Alperen Sengun just got absolutely paid. But I will say Steven Adams is somebody who can directly back him up. He's an NBA vet, has been around the block. Oklahoma City making the most sense to most people. But my God, that is somebody that if he is out, maybe Alperen Sengun gets a full leash to play 36 minutes first game out. That's something that would make double-double, triple-double type numbers look really, really good. Now, the double-double's already nuked up a little bit. 9.5 rebounds, I know, is where that line is sitting right now. I don't know what I would do in the event that Adams is ruled out. I'd probably try to happy trigger fire something quick. But as it stands right now, something to pay attention to. Amin Thompson, how does he kind of transcend into this lineup? I don't know, because Reed Shepherd really impresses me. He has the third shortest odds for Rookie of the Year, and why? Well, if you watched him in the preseason, you know exactly why. He nice. Fred VanVleet, though, he exists. Jalen Green, they do exist. Both of them going to be tough to break that lineup for Reed Shepherd in a very prominent way. Probably sits around that 18, 20-minute mark. Cam Whitmore can be a fireball off the bench for Houston from time to time. But overall, Reed Shepherd, that is, I mean, if he can play defense at the NBA level, this is going to be somebody you really, really could see jump to the next, I mean, he's a rookie with a ceiling. That's kind of the way I'll put it, because the dude, one of the best three-point shooters we've seen in the college game in absolutely forever. But as far as this game goes, what do I like? Well, it's going to be the happy trigger fire thing I was talking about earlier. Steven Adams, questionable. I think you'll want to just fire Alperen Sengun under 9.5 rebounds, because my guess is Steven Adams plays. If he gets ruled out, I apologize ahead of time. I could have just made that a lean like rate from the get-go, but I already bet it. So there's that. Can't do anything about it. I already bet it. Steven Adams, pay very close attention to that news. And if you don't want to bet it, totally understood. But I repeat, it's plus 105 over on DK. That's pretty advantageous. No idea what to make of this, because I would want more money down than I do in the event that he's out. The Pelicans, Zion Williamson, questionable entering this one. They're 6.5-point favorites at the moment against Chicago. Gonna love seeing a real-life basketball game with Lonzo Ball in it. Aren't you? I think that's like the feel-good story we need here in the National Basketball Association. Lonzo Ball probably going to be coming off the bench, considering Josh Giddey will be starting. Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Vooch. I mean, that is a clear-cut starting five right now. You got the departure of DeMar DeRozan. We'll have to talk about Sacramento on Thursday. Really looking forward to that. Woo. Guys, what are we doing with these? Sacramento, you play to win the game. Duh. Go get a mid-range guy in the year of 2024 where three-point shooting matters. Whatever. Interesting other pieces. Jalen Smith is there in Chicago now. And then on the New Orleans side of things, DeJounte Murray. Huge piece. He did have a family emergency. He is also questionable entering this one, but I think he ends up playing in it. So take that for what you will. the big thing that exists here is Zion Williamson. He is your main questionable piece. Jose Alvarado doesn't really matter to me, although he pissed off Chris Paul once upon a time. That was really funny, at least. Anywho, Zion can be that difference maker basketball player. I don't think he's going to play like 32, 34 minutes, even if he does play in this one. So I'm kind of happy to play a half unit here on the Chicago, taking the points. I think they have enough to make this one competitive. Now, it would be a bonus to get DeJounte Murray out of here alongside a Zion Williamson. Then this number would really move. It would be 3 really damn quickly on that side of things. But I do think Chicago plus 6.5 with their current iterations of these lineups and that Q tag hanging, you kind of want to be able to read the tea leaves on this Zion. We've seen this so many times with him. I think the Q tag says a lot here. I lean more like 55, 60%. He misses the game, then plays in it. And as such, I have to bet this. Don't have to bet anything here, but we're going to talk through it. Memphis at Utah. Memphis, they could finish second in the West. They could also finish 12th in the West. I think they are the biggest boom-bust team we have in all of basketball this season. And I think a lot of it will begin, end with Ja Morant. Ja Morant, you saw the Nike ads. A lot of money getting thrown his way here over the course of the offseason and kind of a rehabilitation tour or something to some extent. Just be smarter at times. You know, you can do that. You can be smarter. It's easy to say when I don't have millions and millions of dollars. I have enough money in the bank. I'm very happy. But Ja Morant, he has way more money than any of us, so that's cool. Santi Aldama, Zach Edey probably going to get the start in the absence of Jaren Jackson Jr., who will be out for this game. I'm excited to see them at full strength, though, and I think one guy on the outskirts here that we want to be paying attention to is Brandon Clark. Now, as for the Utah side of things, before I get into that play, Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler could very well be somebody that plays a lot. He could also play very, very little. I have no idea why Patty Mills is on this basketball team. Johnny Juzang is going to be out for this one. Don't really think that matters. Bryce Sensabaugh, Micah Potter, just a weird construction. But Walker Kessler, he needs to make a bigger offensive ascension to actually get himself on the floor for consistent minutes. Defensively, we don't have a ton of questions, although there was some regression in his game last year as well. Not what you want to see in year 2. I was lamenting my life having Rudy Gobert on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Could have just had Walker Kessler at the time, but I think that opinion has changed drastically because that offensive ascension has not occurred for him. I'm going to be paying attention to that one in the early goings of the season. And Lauri Markkanen, will he be on Utah by year's end? I very highly doubt it. But Memphis, Brandon Clark, I love this guy. I think he's just a difference maker for a basketball team the same way Jaren Jackson Jr. is. Now, he's not as good of an offensive player, but at 15.5 PRA, I'd be shocked if they played Edey more than 20, 22 minutes in a lot of situations where he even starts. I have Brandon Clark getting the lion's share of the center minutes here in game 1 against Utah, and especially because if Walker Kessler can't stay on the floor and can't score, well, you want to stretch him out, you want to move around, you want to have Brandon Clark out there a little bit more rather than another true center, flat-footed true center there in Zach Edey. Edey and Kessler for 22 minutes apiece, that would be pretty easy to see. But Brandon Clark, I'm at least leaning that direction. Again, there's nothing that's all that appealing for this one. Excited to see this one play out. Excited to see Ja Morant yet again. He can be dynamic. Oh, yeah, Desmond Bain, Marcus Smart, Gotham's Reckoning. Again, are they good? Are they bad? I have no clue. I have a clue about this one. Phoenix, 4.5-point favorites going into LA. New stadium, yay, woo. And this logo. Who likes this logo? Who likes this logo? It looks like a carp that is swimming towards you. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like a ship. Why does the ship and the nautical thing and a clipper and what is it? What is that? It is the most absurd logo. And it's got a C around it. There's just too much going on for something that you don't even know what it is. And then what are these little white fin things at the bottom? Like, well, what is that? Why are there holes in the ship? Is this the Titanic? Is it sinking? Well, it might be. There's no Paul George there. Kawhi Leonard's going to be out for an undisclosed amount of time. He's out indefinitely. That's bad. We're probably not going to see him till Christmas. I just get that feeling that Kawhi Leonard is not going to be out here for a while. And they have to try to hold down the fort with James Harden, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Derek Jones, and Ivica Zubac, who's my absolute boy. But I repeat, those are going to be your starting 5. They do have an interesting bench, specifically one guy, Kevin Porter Jr. He was also a bad boy, don't condone it, but very much a basketball player that off the bench, well, he's better than your average Bear, that's for sure. Nicholas Batum back in LA, he'll probably be there hanging out. And, well, looking over here on the Phoenix side of things, Tyus Jones, probably going to be your starting point guard alongside Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. Grayson Allen, maybe a bench piece, guy coming off the bench. He had an unbelievable season last year, and kind of looking for him to be a spark plug for them off the bench again this time around. They don't have a very deep bench. Bol, somebody that's probably going to play his way into a couple of minutes here and there. Monty Morris, he can be serviceable if need be as a backup point guard, but the main guys getting minutes are going to be Damian Lee and Royce O'Neal, probably behind Grayson Allen off the bench. So it's going to be tough times here for Phoenix as well. At times in series, well, playoff series, we're thinking about that. When you have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, those are the guys that you want to be paying attention to because you got to improve 6, 7, 8. We've seen that time and time again. Look at Peyton Pritchard, not in game one today, but look at him at the NBA Finals run last year. Look at Luke Cornett and Sam Hauser, how he can fit a role as a three-point marksman when you need it. But Phoenix doesn't have that. Clippers, outside of Kevin Porter Jr., they don't really have it. I think this is going to be a game played primarily by your starting fives and maybe having to play more minutes. And that gets me excited. Kevin Durant, he was a late add to that U.S. Olympic team, sat out for that first game, and then he looked awesome at the Olympics. I'm excited to see what he can offer a healthy starting five for these Phoenix Suns because Bradley Beal, we know how injured he's going to be within like a week or two. It is what it is. So give me Kevin Durant while you can. This is such a thin play to some people that, like for me, 23.5 points plus Phoenix money line, I combine the two just because if Kevin Durant goes for 25 plus here against his friend James Harden, and I say friend, it didn't go well in Brooklyn, we know that. We very much want to have the combination of the two. I think it's just fine to put together. Called it a lean as well, purely because it is a little bit dicey here. And I know some people minus 194 on a money line, not really looking to do that. Kevin Durant, though, I think that is the way that we make this advantageous. Whew, tons of work that went into this video today. Just smash the like button if you could for me. I tried to get as much information out here as I could for you in these early games. I promise we're going to fly faster and faster and faster, but I do have some data points that I wanted to bring up for this last play. Golden State -6 against Portland, and doing a lot of research on the Golden State side of things because Steph Curry, I totally get it, Golden State fans. I get why you love Steph Curry as much as you do. For the first time, I loved cheering for Steph Curry because I think it's the first time I've ever cheered for Steph Curry. Gnawing on that mouthpiece for Team USA. Oh, it was just beautiful to watch. But this Golden State team, no Klay Thompson. Obviously, Klay Thompson was somebody that was kind of sent out on a rail at the final stroke of midnight there. But look at this team. They have like 12 dudes, but they really only have like one dude at this point. Look at this starting five. Steph Curry. I think Podziemski starts it as well. Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, Trace Jackson Davis. Now, there are ways that Draymond Green plays the five in a number of matchups. They also have Kyle Anderson now on this team. We know how multi-dimensional he can play the 3, 4, 5. He can do a lot of stuff on the defensive end, slow-mo himself. They have Gary Payton II back and healthy. Got his contract in Portland, came back to Golden State. That's where he's going to remain. Moses Moody just got paid a little bit of money. Buddy Hield is there for ammunition off the bench. And Andrew Wiggins, does he start? Or is it going to be Curry, Podziemski, Kuminga? Like I think it is 1, 2, 3 there. Obviously, Steph Curry's starting. Let's not even have that conversation. That's the dumbest thing ever. Kevon Looney, how does his minutes end up fitting into this? And D'Anthony Melton is there. I mean, guys, there are so many guys here in Golden State, but like 1.5 of them outside of Steph Curry are like serviceable. I'm going to give Draymond Green the benefit of the doubt. And then I like Podziemski a little bit. Kuminga, probably the most bit. So we'll go 2.5. Kuminga is really who I want to highlight there. As for Portland, on the other side of this one, we got Anthony Simons back, hopefully healthy, hopefully going to kick around a little bit. Denny Avdia, going to be an interesting guy to watch out there. Tamani Kamara, Jamari Grant at the 4, and DeAndre Ayton at the 5, who had a really nice second half of the NBA season. They're going to have Duop Reith backing him up more than likely in the early going. They have Bryce McGowens, who will play a couple of minutes. But Scoot Henderson, this guy's going to have to come off the bench. He is just terrible right now, but he's going to chuck when he shows up. He is probably the most difficult guy I have in terms of modeling this game out in terms of EPM and trying to like say who are your premier players, because Scoot Henderson can play a little bit of defense, but offensively he is a black hole and he's not very good at it. So gotta tell you, this is going to be Jonathan Kuminga and nothing else for me. I'm not a big fan of betting on star player point props, although I just took Kevin Durant with the Phoenix money line, so riddle me that. But there's some correlation there. Obviously, a good game by Kevin Durant, probably decent little stuff but from Phoenix. Thought about the same thing here with Golden State, but didn't end up pulling the trigger because I think this is just a great enough standalone play on its own. With Klay Thompson off the floor last season, Steph Curry, 33.8% usage. His points prop sitting at 27.5. Don't touch that. If you do, the under probably makes the most sense coming off of the Olympics, coming off of everything we just saw. Although he likes himself heading up there to take on Anthony Simons because Anthony Simons not very good at the old defense. But Jonathan Kuminga, 24.7% usage, second most, right behind Steph Curry. I think we see him chuck a lot more. I think he needs to be offensively inclined for these Warriors. Inclined, that was the word, not proclivity. What the hell, Eric? Jonathan Kuminga over 17.5. Let's get out of here. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Head to the comments section. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this lovely game we have before us. I'm going to go watch my Timberwolves and get out of here. Producer Jacob, thank you. You're the absolute man. Check out Bet365. Check out the Tails package. Again, you sign up at any of those partners, you get yourself everything that I got over from me, all of my bets, as well as that Discord for free. Let's get out of here. I'll see you on Thursday for a 4-gamer. That's going to be far more manageable and much shorter in the old time column. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Wednesday.